Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township, and all those government people that make laws and regulations that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people that you went and elected. And the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you chose to go to that meeting or not. And the result can be a taxing
situation.
That's right.
Very much so. It could happen. And there's humor also in every meeting.
And does.
It does, yes. And we know that humor either floats to the top or sinks to the bottom, but whatever, it's out there.
I go for the cream.
Yep. And one of the things we do bring forward is the humor. And there's one more thing that one of us brings forward, and that would be...
His humors.
No, his rumors. Right?
Not me.
Not me. That's always what he says. Not me, but I know it's him. And the other thing, too, is that Minutes by Minute is a reduced version of what the actual meeting in terms of time can run. This meeting that we're doing Minutes by Minute only take roughly a half an hour, where you could be sitting in on a meeting in the chambers for half hour, 2 hours,
Or you can go to our website, OCCTV, if you're so inclined to watch the entire meeting from your easy chair with chips and a beverage. Mm-hmm. That could last for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3, at the far end of that.
2 days.
But we don't edit or delete anything. So what you see is what you get.
But if you want to see the whole thing, you go to OCCTV.org. And click on what?
Programs.
You're right. And there's a whole series of programs.
There's a whole series of programs. Everything is in reverse date order. And off to the side is a little drop-down menu in case you, say, want to go to the village of Leonard and see what's there. Bing. That's all you'll see.
Bing.
Bing.
That's all you'll see. Okay, well, let's talk about a couple of meetings that went on last week.
I didn't want to say bibbity-bobbity-boo, but...
Yeah, but there it is.
There it
comes bubbling to the top. What was that? We said bubbles to the top. Oh, anyhow, let's have a discussion off camera about that, shall we?
I think you're talking about Guinness.
Guinness, could be, I don't know.
That bubbles to the top.
But, all right, but let's talk about the Oxford Village Planning Commission meeting, which was held December 3rd. And Gary Douglas is the chairman. Rose Bama serves on this board. Jack Curtis serves on the board also. He's with the township. Maureen Helmuth, Justin Ballard, Kelsey Cook, and Leslie Pilak. Terry Onika was doing the recording that evening, and she is the village clerk. And Bob Davis, they don't go far without the shadow.
That's
shadow
right.
knows, right? The attorney.
That's right.
Bob Davis. And there's always some legal
questions. He's got the leash and pulls them back in when they go too far.
He does. If there's a legal question, Bob is there to answer the question. Good. That's a good job, by the way. So they took care of all the preliminaries, Pledge of Allegiance. The agenda for December 3rd was approved. The minutes for November 19th, 2019 were approved. And correspondence, none. No correspondence. Nobody wanted to talk to them, I guess, huh?
They don't call, they don't write.
They don't call. What happened to them, I have no idea. Maybe if you send them a letter, maybe they will respond. Maybe not.
Maybe
right?
not.
Okay.
Maybe they've been unfriended.
Right. Public hearing, none. No public hearing this evening, so we're moving along pretty good here. Old business. Guess what? Adult use of marijuana ordinance review.
They're dipping it in and wringing it out again.
They're just smoking here. So anyway, it's been a process, for the Planning Commission to develop this ordinance, along with the help of the attorney, yeah, Bob Davis, and also the consultant, Mario Ortega. He's been working on this as well.
Bob got the what, and he's got the where.
Yep, and they have actually corresponded back and forth via telephone and also met on various occasions to work with this, to have a document that could be handed out, which might be workable and approved down the line by the village council. You betcha. Nothing goes further than the approval of the village council. And there's a couple of public hearings that they have to have, of course, before they reach that stage. Now, Mario said he wanted to explain the state procedures involving the Marijuana Act, and which he did. And insurance, he said he would suggest an insurance requirement by these facilities, these would-be marijuana producers or sellers, to make sure that they were covered, for injury insurance or whatever.
Sure.
But after a lengthy discussion, the council decided, or not the council, but the commission decided, we weren't talking about the council, but the commission decided that it was something that really would be handled by insurance companies, that kind of thing, and really didn't have a place, as far as they were concerned, to
wonder how
dictate the
long
amount of insurance they would
I wonder how
require.
long before copyright infringement comes into play,
Yeah, what do you mean?
when they start saying, this bud's for you.
It's for you. Okay, you want to start that already, huh?
Just thinking ahead.
Okay, well, I can tell you one thing is that, as Bob Davis pointed out, everything is actually listed and controlled by the state right now. So they have to jump through hoops.
Well, they got to be in
their-
total compliance with the state.
They have to.
Plus any extra little bits they want to throw in.
Right. Once the state gives the initial approval to go forward, then they visit the village. And
Is
then
is the county level involved at all with this?
Well, in a way it is. It's an overseer, but as the state is. But normally the community would deal with the state on these particular issues.
Okay.
And let's say there's something more that the ordinance requires, as considering the state requirements, then they have to concur with those particular issues as well.
Like any store.
Like any store, or any producer, any farm
That's right.
company that's producing little itty bitty plants that grow into big plants.
Or brewing.
They're brewing. Yeah, right. And actually, Bob Davis, the attorney, wanted to point out that even though somebody has a permit or they have a special land use, which, by the way, requires a site plan, and it goes with the property, as opposed to a permit.
Any business has to do that.
Right, well, yeah, any new business startup,
Right.
Or you're building or
Sure.
adding to it or whatever, you have to have the requirements in terms of a site plan.
That's
But
the
as a
planning
permit-
commission's bread and butter.
Right, there's a lot of communities, though, they're issuing permits instead because of the process involved. It's less of a process to issue a permit. But the permit goes to the individual rather than the property. So let's say the site plan has been approved and they go forward with it. That property owner has the rights under the ordinance and the state to operate their business there. Now, what happens when and if they sell that business? Then that particular issue goes to the next ownership. In other words,
Issue
it continues
or
on.
permit?
It wouldn't be a permit. It would be their, what did I just say? Their land, special use, would go to the new owner under the same requirements as the first owner had. Whereas a permit expires. If they were given a permit, after that person sells the property or leaves, the permit is finished. It has to be reissued again.
Why would they have one rather than the other?
That's all in the process and the way government does business, and depending which route you want to take. And it depends on which route the village wants to take as well, which is critical in this case. So they're trying to decide at this point if it's going to be a site plan requirement or if it's going to be a permit issue. So there's more discussions going on, and that's where you folks out there will get involved also.
Is there a deadline for making all of these decisions?
November 1st supposedly was going to be
Which one?
Yeah, this one.
2020?
No, this one. So anyway, they can go forward with this and get it approved by the council, then they'll be off and running. With that being said, we're going to be off and running just for a few moments. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Catch us anytime on YouTube. Go to Oxford Community Television YouTube.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are again talking about the Oxford Village Planning Commission meeting held on December 3rd. And we are talking about marijuana and the process of getting an ordinance in place.
We're just weeding it out, so to speak.
Just weeding it out. Yes, that's what we're doing. And if you got any leftovers, smoking. That's what it's going to be, right?
I guess.
Okay, might be. So anyway, they decided not to deal with the insurance issue, that wasn't a place for them to dictate, what insurance a company is required, where the state specifications will require these particular companies, entities to jump through hoops before they get there to your little hoop. Okay, got it?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Discussion.
And so it goes.
Right. There's a rather.
Have they addressed the problem that the township of Oxford has said no, and yet this little enclave of the village of Oxford within the township of Oxford has said, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the township has what they call opted out rather than opt in. And that being said, they're not going to do anything, but they're going to keep an eye on other communities and what kinds of problems you have out there in those communities concerning, ordinances, violations of ordinances, what punishments are going to be rendered out for such offenses that
Now,
do occur.
Did the township of Oxford have a public vote like the village did? Or was it just a decision on the part of the township board?
It was on the decision of the township trustee board.
Okay, so the village is dealing with the fact that the people voted for it.
Right. And they're saying, all these people want marijuana, so let's give them what they want. So that's what the village is doing. But they are designated a certain zone that this activity can go on, and it's on Glassby Street in the industrial area. So, and that's going to be the only area that it's going to commence.
Industrial quality.
Industrial quality. And by the way, they have to put some stacks on whatever they're producing there so the smell doesn't put the whole village to sleep. I'm pretty sure.
Are you kidding
Again,
me?
it goes under state regulation and what they do in terms of production.
What are the laws relative to, once you bought the stuff, smoking it? Is there locations where you can't or can smoke it?
Well, under the recreation marijuana law, you can have up to 12 plants.
Yeah,
Your neighbor can have 12. You
Yeah.
can have 12. Your other neighbor can have 12. Here 12, there 12,
where are
everywhere
people,
12.
Where are people who have it limited to smoke it?
Well,
are
you
they
got to be
limited
within.
at all?
You got to be within. Supposedly, the ordinance, state ordinance, is 500 feet
Of what?
of a school, of a daycare center.
So you can't smoke it anywhere near there.
Right, but an
Or
ordinance.
you can't sell it anywhere near there.
That's correct. Where you are to sell it is going to be designated by the state
Right.
and by the ordinance requirements.
But in terms of people smoking it, are there limitations?
Well, you can't stop a person from smoking in their car,
Yeah, that's
unless they're in an accident. Then you can stop them for a long, long time. But
And as you roll down your window and the cop says, oh boy.
yeah, and the danger, and the danger lies in the fact that if you run into somebody else, you've compounded the problem. And especially if somebody's injured, which there's been a couple of serious accidents.
Have they come up with a mobile test to
It has to
see
be
if there's like they test for a certain level of alcohol with people? Is there a certain level of, THC that they can test for?
not without doing a blood test.
I see.
And normally that's done at a hospital. If you refuse to take the blood test, guess what? They got a place for you to stay until you change your mind.
The law of implied consent.
Yes. And by the way, there have been two very serious accidents, 2 deaths involving marijuana. One down near Detroit and one recently up in the Bay County area. So those are things that the township is saying, we want to opt out, we want to see what's going to happen, what type of ordinances are going to take place, what kind of repercussions it's going to have. I think that's a smart move on the part of the township. Now actually Orion Township,
Is the Department of Agriculture involved in this?
Somewhere probably, I'm not sure where, but deeply
I
embedded.
just wondered.
I don't
if
know.
It goes under the, what is it, the DEC?
Yeah, take a note.
DHC.
DHC.
Yeah.
Take a note.
I don't know.
But I do know Orion Township have agreed to opt in on production only. And it's very tightly regulated.
Okay.
The building isn't marked, so you don't know what it is. Now up in Bay County, you know, everything is marked. Practically every corner has marijuana for sale or, you know, distribution
Really?
area. Oh yeah. I was just up there recently. And there's other villages, townships that are doing the same thing. Now one of the smaller townships up there, which is Fraser Township, has opted out. But they're surrounded, as you say, surrounded by these other.
So there a person is, and he's got a package or whatever they call it of marijuana, and he's going through the airport and going through TSA. Does that get him into trouble?
What do you mean?
I don't know. That's why I asked you, oh mighty master of knowledge.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, throw this one over. Okay, let me get this. They're coming through the airport and they're carrying the marijuana.
No, they're going through the TSA gate.
Okay.
And, you know, take off your shoes and just, you know.
They got 10 pounds of marijuana.
I don't know.
Yeah,
There
it's
must be
still,
limit- there
it's
must
still
be limits.
illegal. And by the way, Bob Davis points out, it's still against federal law to have the marijuana in your possession, that kind of thing.
And areas that are designated as no smoking for tobacco also apply to marijuana, right?
Oh, I would think so. Probably twofold. But anyway, Bob Davis feels that they're going to eventually pass it in all the states, you know,
Yeah, well,
federal government.
I'm sure the
but
police
there's
are.
no
I'm sure the police are looking forward to all of that.
Yeah, there's no guarantees that's going to happen. So they might put these facilities all together and invest thousands and thousands upon dollars, and only to have the federal government change their mind and step in and say no.
It's still illegal, technically.
It
with
is.
the federal government.
Federal government says it is illegal.
And I thought that
are
the federal
combating the state.
government law trumped state law.
It does
trumps all laws.
It does if they want to take action for the law. But it doesn't appear this federal government is practicing handling these laws and following the laws as they were meant to do. So it's hard to say, though. You know, a different
Well, it's
administration
always
might
nice
say,
that they
no,
can
we're
pass
going to...
laws and then not enforce them.
Yeah, right. Change in administration could, for example, turn that around and say, no, the state's, it's not good, substance abuse. So, you know, these are
The
gambles.
story goes on. It's endless.
Yep, and it's gambling. And you folks out there voted for it, so we'll see how this goes, okay? Hopefully it'll go well for you. Action to remove insurance requirement, they did do that. Violation of the ordinance. You want to know that it is prohibited through federal law, but on December 17th, there's going to be a public hearing at the Oxford Village Chambers at 7 p.m. Now that's December 17th, public hearing coming up for the marijuana. So if you want to learn more, attend that
Is that a
meeting.
public hearing or a
December
town
17th.
hall?
No, it's public hall, public hearing. It's not town hall.
Well, it isn't.
No, public hearing has to be posted, you know, in the newspaper.
Oh, the town hall is what
Yeah.
they're going to have to review what's going on M24.
Right, and they
Okay.
had that already.
Right.
They did that the other evening. So if you folks didn't attend that meeting last night, then you missed out on a pretty good session. And they'll be having more, by the way, as that comes down the line. And speaking
And you've
of,
probably already seen the preliminaries.
right. Speaking of more, we'll tell you more when we come back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we've just finished talking about the Oxford Village Planning Commission meeting held on December 3rd. Now we're going to go to the NOTA, North Oakland Transportation Authority. Yes, November 21st of this year. Bill Dunn is the chairperson. Bruce Pearson serves on that board. And Marge Payne, Mike McDonald, Eric Sett, Cody Agdean, I believe his name is, and Lynn Gustafson is the executive director. Does a
Right.
good job out there. She
Yep.
does. Okay, they went through the preliminaries, the pledge, the approval of the agenda for November 21st. Am I going too fast for you?
No. Now, their central office is in Lake Orion now, isn't it?
Their central office is going to be in Oxford.
Oh, that's right. They moved again. That's right.
Yeah.
It's
hard-
going to be.
It's hard to hit a moving target, you know, you keep on the move.
Well, it used to be around Crossroads for Youth,
Used to.
and then they went to Orion, and now they're coming back into Oxford.
Folks, I'm going to introduce you to the historian here. Huh? That's what happened, right?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Now they're back in Oxford, and we're going to talk more about that as we go along.
Kind of like quantum physics. Once you look at it, it changed.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Catch it quick. Okay. Director's report. Get this, 4,000 riders, the highest in history through October. That was quite a feat.
Busy little buses.
And they've traveled 50,000 miles over
In a
that
straight
period of
line?
time. Probably not. Are you suggesting something they can't drive in a straight line?
I'm just saying that if they did,
They
they'd
did.
be in the ocean.
Okay, right. Okay, so anyway, those are pretty good stats, and there's a couple things that they're working on. The fire system for the new location in Oxford, the road repaired entry to the area, parking area, LED lights, and electricity has all been put in as far as, like, you know,
Are they solar powered or actually powered
No.
off a grid?
they're powered off a grid.
Okay.
Yep. And painting, Lynn said is completed. Cabinets and, let me see, flooring are ordered. So they'll be putting those in soon. And hopefully the office will be completed by late December.
Oh,
That's moving along pretty good. They're going to do the warehouse, complete that later, because the cement has to be put in and it has to be cured. You know, it takes a while for that. And let me see what else. New vehicle received. Actually, they've got two new vehicles.
are they
One-
still buying from that specialized outfit?
Excuse me. Yes, they are.
Okay. What?
Yeah. Why wouldn't they? They save a lot of
well,
money
it's
that
not
way.
like it's not like a Ford or a GM. It's its own specialized product for that kind of activity.
Right, like a Humvee, something like that. No.
Hardly.
Not hardly. Okay, right. She wanted to point out that the two vehicles, one is under a grant, and so they're all set and ready to go with that. And she also wanted to let the board know that of the $84,896.21, that was the total bills for the month, $52,844 was the cost of one of the vehicles
No.
purchased. So that's why it was high. Actually, their expenses aren't that high for the operation that they have running. Would you think? Okay.
Now they're supported by all the municipalities in the area,
Yes,
aren't
they are. And that's through the voters.
Right.
And
Is
has
that
to
in the
be
form of a
approved.
millage or
It's a millage.
a bond? Okay, it's a millage. Okay.
Yep. Financial activity. Actually, Bruce Pearson from Addison Township was rather concerned on how many riders were riding in Addison. And according to the total.
How few or how many?
Well, like what part of the total represents Addison? And Lynn Gustafson said that it's 6%, and which was pretty much what it was last year. So, and he's saying that it's not people that are ill that are using it more or less, but people using it as transportation, you know, to get to and from doctors and to go to the grocery stores and
Sure.
that kind of thing. But he just needed to know that because he wants to support, I think, millage again when it comes up next year. So anyway, that being said, financial activity report was received and filed, and the 2020 budget. Now that's fun. You like working with budgets, right?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Lovely day in the neighborhood. Anyhow, one of the main issues with the budget one to be discussed was a salary increase. And 5% would go to the manager, and the other 5% also would go to Lynn Gustafson, and 7.53% to the drivers and to dispatch.
Okay.
So those are the increases that they give. Very similar to what you got.
No. We're not that rich.
We didn't get there. We need to dig up that tin can in the backyard you've got. being the accounting guy.
When's the last time they all got raises?
I think a couple years ago, probably.
Okay.
Because the economy wasn't all that great for a while. If you
Yeah,
recall,
yeah,
they were
yeah.
struggling. But now they have over $1 million in their general fund. So they're sitting pretty good right now. And that's through the control that Lynn Gustafson has, and she has a strong accounting background, of course. So that makes a big difference on who watches the chickens when all the wolves and alligators are running around the pen.
Well, it all goes to, it's always nice to have a buck.
Yeah, buck. Yeah. Speaking of bucks, people are shooting them right now. But anyhow, that'll be over with soon. Total budget then that they have is $1,655,816, which is quite sizable. And their contingency fund, now you'll appreciate this, they've got $182,591. Don't you wish?
That's pretty sizable.
Yeah, it is.
Must be expecting earthquakes.
Yeah. And they're always looking for people, by the way, for drivers and so forth, so if you have an interest, go ahead and contact NODA. You'll find it on the webpage.
Right.
Job descriptions was another issue that came up concerning drivers, operations manager, dispatching, and executive director. And that all was reviewed and was approved. Employee handbook, NODA, is a concern. I want to say that Bill Dunn says, whoa, just a minute, hold it. This is the company. That should not be the company. It should be NODA. He says, did you understand? We are NODA.
Oh, it came from a boilerplate, probably.
Might have. Those boilers, they all have the same
Well,
name.
no, they all make those generic references in there.
Right. But you weren't there to describe it, as a solution that you just need to change it to NODA. Bill figured this out on his own. So there.
We went through the same thing here at OCTV.
Oh, experience. Okay, that does it all. Okay. New business. They want to put in an alarm and camera system. The alarm for the fire department, or for the fire alarm. And so they interviewed about 4 different companies to determine, let me see, which one of these companies is going to smoke the best? Which one's going to be there the fastest? Who's going to catch all the little criminals that are coming through the window? Let's check it out. So they did do that, and Guardian Alarm was selected for the cameras. Lynn said that those cameras are better quality than the other 3 people that put in bids. And also that there could be a grant available, for that, and Lynn is going to look into it. Apparently the cost of that is around, let me see, how much was that? Quite a bit. But anyhow, we say quite a bit. Then the other thing was the fire alarm and access control. Runs about $3,228, and actually the fire alarm went to Thumb Alarm. And one more thing, seniors transportation. How come seniors don't get a special discount? They do. So contact NODA if you have a senior event, and you'll get special terms for riding the bus. Speaking of riding the bus, what's coming up?
Well, we do have meetings on 12/16 at 6 o'clock. The Addison Township Board of Trustees will be meeting. And also at 6 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, will be meeting. And I think you're a part of that. No, you're not.
What's
Get out.
that?
7 at
So
7
soon you
o'clock.
come, so soon you lose.
Yes, indeed. On 12/16, also at 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Council will be meeting. On 12/17, at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission will be meeting. And on 12/19, at 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Planning Commission will be meeting. And at 4:30, NODA.
NODA.
That same day on 12/19.
Well, this has Minutes by Minute, and I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time right here.
If you're interested in sponsoring a show for OCTV, please give us a call at 248-628-9658 and we'll air a promotional video for your local business.